कोरोना वायरस ग्लोबल पैंडेमिक है और इस सिलसिले में जहां पर मुश्किलात हैं वहीं पर हुकूमतें अपनी सतह पर काम कर रही हैं ताकि जो उनके शहरी किसी दूसरे मुल्क में हैं उनको फैसिलिटेट किया जा सके। आज हम बात करेंगे बिलखुसूस कनाडा से मुताल्लिक। चंद रोज़ पहले कैनेडियन फ़्लाइट्स गई थी पाकिस्तान से कैनेडियन शहरियों को लेकर कनाडा, तो इसके साथ साथ कैनेडियन एम्बेसी किस तरीके से काम करे टू फैसिलिटेट their citizens in Pakistan. And today we have Wendy Gilmour with us from Islamabad. Good morning. Hope you're doing great today.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. Wendy, I would like to ask, what is the stance of your government, Government of Canada, to address the current spread of corona in Canada and for that matter at global level?
It's a very worrying situation, I believe, all over the globe. This crisis has been growing over the course of the last couple of weeks, and the Canadian government has put a number of measures in place to try and address it, starting with movement restrictions. Much like in Pakistan, people are being asked to stay in their houses, to self-isolate. Public places are closed. There's fines if you violate it. I was just looking at some information online, fines of 5,000 Canadian dollars if you are caught outside not respecting social distancing provisions. So it's a fairly serious situation.
Right. You being Canadian High Commissioner in Pakistan, I would like to know, how is the High Commission responding to the queries of the Canadians who are stuck in Pakistan after the spread, after this pandemic?
We have a lot of engagement with our Canadian community here. As you can imagine, there are a lot of Canadians in Pakistan, just as there are a lot of Canadian Pakistanis in Canada. We have at the moment about 8,500 registered Canadians in Pakistan.
Right.
And when we've gone out with calls for surveys of who is looking for assistance or for facilitation to return to Canada, we get in around about 2,000 people responding. The policy of the Canadian government is to encourage, wherever possible, commercial means to return to Canada. On the 16th of March, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs asked all Canadians who were abroad to return as a result of the diminishing or the restricted number of international flights that were becoming available. And we've been working with the Canadian community here to try and make sure that there are commercial flights available to them. So we arranged for 2 flights last week with the very kind help of the Government of Pakistan and Pakistan International Airways. Those were flights that were dedicated to manifests provided by the Canadian government. And we've also been working with PIA to ensure that that commercial flights, where they are available, continue. So we're very lucky that PIA has direct flights to Toronto, and they're very well used to flying that route.
And I think we should expect more flights, right?
Well, we would very much like there to be more flights. We did another call out for another survey with the Canadian community. In fact, it just closed this morning, so we're in the midst of compiling the data and trying to understand where the Canadians are that are looking to return back to Canada around the 3 international airport hubs in Lahore, Karachi and Islamabad. And then we will use that data to work with and encourage PIA and the Government of Pakistan to have more commercial flights available.
Right. Since there are more than 8,000 Canadians in Pakistan and you are trying to facilitate them whichever way possible, I would like you to address this, that how are you managing your social media tools to facilitate the Canadian nationals in Pakistan? I mean, I've seen your Twitter account. You have been trying to facilitate them. Which other ways you're doing this?
Well, social media is a great adventure for me as a diplomat. It's a relatively new tool where we're able to engage directly with Canadians and communicate. Myself, my staff, we have accounts on Twitter and on Facebook, and we also have something called the Registration of Canadians Abroad. Any Canadian citizen can go onto the internet on a website called travel.gc.ca, and there is a registration tab that they can enter that gives them the opportunity to signal to the Canadian government that they are outside Canada, that they are planning to travel. There's a beginning and an end date. One of the things I would say to my Canadian community here is make sure that the end date is accurate, otherwise you stop receiving messages at some point. The ROCA messages, we call them, are sent out by email. And we've been doing ROCA messages, probably some would think too many, but once at least we try every day or every couple of days to put information into the hands of the Canadian community.
Right. And how the High Commission is working in the current wake of Corona? I mean, is High Commission open or closed? What measures have you taken in the office?
We're very open.
Okay.
I think we're working very hard. I have an absolutely wonderful team of Canadian and Pakistani staff that have been working literally around the clock to try and answer the queries of Canadians, ensure that commercial means are available where it is possible to do so, to respond to urgent requests for access, for example, to medication, to assistance for the regular type of consular business, facilitate emergency passports, the documents that people will need to return to Canada, or to make sure that they are safe still here in Pakistan. So like I think a lot of places, and in accordance with the encouragement of the government of Pakistan, we are restricting our own travel. We are restricting visitors to the High Commission. We're doing as much as we can, maintaining physical distance, social distance, but we are open and we are available to help the Canadian community.
Let's talk about the new visa policy. I mean, when things get better, there will be so many students who will be thinking about applying for that. Can you share that? How can anyone apply for student visa? What's the new policy?
Absolutely. So, I think we're all looking forward to the end of this particular pandemic and the world resuming as business as normally as possible and returning to international commerce and study and travel. In Canada, at the moment, our visa services are only for essential travelers only. We've restricted entry into Canada. And we have very stringent requirements for travelers entering into Canada that are required to self-isolate. But when this all resumes again, one of the things that the Canadian government did last July is announced that Pakistan was now an eligible country for something called the Student Direct Stream Visa. And that's a program that's designed to ensure expedited processing, so faster processing for qualified students. It's a fairly stringent program. Students that get into this program are required to have really three different things. They have to demonstrate their mastery of English or French if they're studying in French. They have to have the necessary financial means to support their studies in Canada, so first-year tuition paid, to put what we call a general investment certificate, but really is a deposit in a Canadian bank that is only to be drawn down by that particular student, and they have to show that they have been accepted at an accredited institution. So for these qualified students, once all the paperwork is together, there is a very fast processing timeline. There's a lot of work to get to that fast processing timeline, but it does create real opportunities for legitimate students to Canada to be able to go and to do their studies.